In the early 1970s, America was living through the golden age of muscle cars. Detroit was building machines with one goal: to dominate the streets with raw horsepower. And among these icons, one name stood tall, bold, and unapologetically powerful. This is the story of the 1971 Plymouth GTX, equipped with the legendary 440 cubic, a car that represented the final era of true American high performance before government regulations, rising insurance rates, and the fuel crisis shut the party down. Today, we go deep into its origins, design, engineering, performance, rarity, and the legacy that still makes the 71 GTX one of the most respected Mopar machines ever built. Welcome to the full story of the 1971 Plymouth GTX 440, the gentleman's muscle car. The Plymouth GTX first rolled onto the scene in 1967, but this wasn't just another muscle car. Plymouth marketed it as a gentleman's hot rod. That meant you got massive power, but with luxury features, premium trim, and refined styling. By 1971, the GTX had already built a name for itself in the Mopar world. But the 1971 model would be different. It would become the last real GTX, because after 71, the name existed only as a trim package on the Roadrunner. So the 1971 version, it wasn't just another model year. It was the last stand of the true 1971 was the year Plymouth redesigned the entire body lineup. Gone were the sharp edges and straight lines of the late Inampulu-esque. Instead, the designers went for flowing curves, a more aerodynamic look, and aggressive proportions. The new body featured a deeply sculpted Coke bottle shape, lower roofline for better aerodynamics, a wide, bold sharp nose front grille, vented fenders, a pronounced power bulge hood. This was not subtle. This was not polite. This was Mopar saying, we're still here, and we still build monsters. The car looked fast, even before you touched the gas pedal. Under the hood sat one of the most feared engines of the muscle car era, the 440 Super Commando V8. 440 cubic inches, rated at 370 horsepower, a staggering 480 pounds-ft of torque, 4-barrel carburetor, high lift cam, free-flowing exhaust manifolds, heavy-duty cooling system. This engine wasn't built for subtle acceleration. It was built for brutal, instant torque, the kind that pinned you to the seat and left to your heart hammering. And then there was the even more insane option, the 446 3-barrel Holleycarbs, rated at 390 horsepower, quarter-mile times dipping into the low 13s. One of the most underrated factory engines in American history. But for today's script, we stay focused on the heart of this video, the 440 Super Commando. When you turned the key, the engine didn't start, it awakened. Let's talk numbers, because in the world of muscle cars, numbers tell the story. Performance Stats Factory, 0 sampai 60 mph, around 6 seconds. Quarter mile, 14.0 seconds. Top speed, around 130 miles per hour. Torque at only 3,200 RPM. Immediate punch. But numbers don't capture how the GTX felt on the road. Drivers described it as loud, mean, confident, and heavy, but in a good way. The suspension was performance-tuned, giving it better handling than many competitors. The car felt planted at high speeds, something rare for muscle cars of that era. The 440 engine provided effortless acceleration. You didn't have to floor it. Half throttle already felt like launching a rocket. As many Mopar fans say, the 440 doesn't ask for permission, it just goes. Inside, the GTX separated itself from the cheaper Roadrunner. It offered premium upgrades such as bucket seats, center console, wood grain dash trim, optional leather touches, high-end MMF stereo, tachometer, and rally gauge, thick insulation to reduce road noise. This was a muscle car you could take to a drag strip on Friday night and to a nice restaurant on Saturday. That's why it earned the nickname, the gentleman's muscle car. Now here's where things get interesting and valuable. In 1971, the muscle car era was declining. Insurance companies were punishing performance cars. Emissions rules were tightening. Gas prices were rising. Because of all this, many buyers backed away. And as a result, total 1971 GTX production, 2,942 units. That's extremely low. Of those, most came with the 444 barrel. Only a small number got the 446 pack. Even fewer got the legendary 426 Hemi. This makes the 1971 GTX 441 of the rarest Mopars of the early 70s. Collectors today know this, and the prices show it. 3 things make this car stand out in the entire Mopar lineup. 1. It's the last real GT. After 1971, the GTX name stopped being its own model. That alone makes this year historically important. 2. It represents the end of the high horsepower era. 1971 was the final year before major compression drops and emissions equipment weakened American engines. 3. The design is unique and aggressive. No other year looks like the 71. It's bold, it's futuristic, it's unmistakably Mopar. Today, the GTX is one of the most sought-after Plymouth models. Depending on condition, a project car, $25,000, $40,000, a clean driver, $60,000, $90,000, a fully restored show car, $120,000, $160,000 plus, rare configurations, 6-pack or Hemi, $250,000, $350,000 plus. Collectors love it for its rarity, its big block power, and its final year significance. The car is no longer just a machine. It's a piece of American automotive history. The 1971 Plymouth GTX 440 stands as one of the last true giants of the muscle car era. It represents a time when American engineers were free to chase horsepower without limits, when style was bold, when performance was everything. Today, this car is more than nostalgia. It's a legend, a final roar from an era that will never come again. And for Mopar lovers, the GTX will always be a symbol of strength, speed, and pure American power. This was the 1971 Plymouth GTX 440, the gentleman's muscle car.